When you're ready.
In 1973, a man by the name of Herbert Boyer and his partner, Stanley Cohen, developed the first form of genetic engineering. These two men took DNA from bacteria and implanted it in another. Over time, this technology has rapidly developed into what is now today called CRISPR-Cas9 protein. This protein allows humans to edit the genes and DNA of other humans in the embryonic stage. This raises a huge moral question of whether or not humans should be doing this, or whether or not they should be leaving it alone. When looking at three different perspectives, we can see that the common consensus is that while humans should be able to genetically modify other humans, it should be heavily monitored. First one is the scientific lens. The scientific community believes that there are two different types of genetic engineering. There's somatic and there's germline. The scientific community believes that, well, somatic cells should not be modified, germline cells would be okay. In 2018, a summit was held where scientists from all over the world discussed just this. And they came to the conclusion that germline should be okay. And this man, Dr. He, actually illegally did a procedure on two embryonic cells of twins, and he edited their genes so that, hoping to prevent HIV in those two specimens. However, when he presented this information at the summit in 2018, his work was dismissed, saying it was illegitimate and illegal, as the scientific community had not yet legalized editing of human genes. Next is the general public. The general public has a common consensus as well. They also believe that, well, human editing should be allowed. It should not revolve around beauty, height, or any other aesthetical traits. They believe that only human genes should be edited to prevent or to cure diseases. Finally, religion. Religion has a common consensus among the main religions of the world, being Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. These religions mostly believe that while human genetics should be a thing, changing human genes should be a thing, they believe that it should not affect the specimen in a way that harms them or has a possibility to harm them. I think it's summarized perfectly by a quote by John L. Allen Jr., which is a correspondent for the Vatican, saying, "Human life is always a good and therefore must be fully respected, irrespective of such considerations as intelligence, beauty, youth, and integrity." This means that human gene editing should not affect beauty. What this means for the future. I think in the future, gene editing will become a very common thing, but it will not be effective in germline cells. Because if a child is affected as an embryo, scientists currently believe that it should not affect future generations. Therefore, only somatic cells would be okay. What this means is that in the future, we will have some form of designer babies. Now, designer babies are not what you might think. Designer babies doesn't mean perfect hair, perfect teeth, perfect eyes. This type of designer baby would only be affected on the cellular level, which means they would have immunity to some diseases and low risk of others. I think that in the future, this will be a normal thing, and with time, technology will become so advanced that it will be able to do these things without any of the possible implications or confusions or errors that may happen during the procedure in which genes are added. All right, thank you.
Nathan, would you open up those drawers for Ms.? You got to go around.
Can you just grab,
All right. David, a couple of questions. How did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process?
So initially I started with the basic question of should humans be doing this or should they not? And over time as I researched, I found research and stuff that was saying, rather than saying yes or no, most groups are saying yes but or no but. And so my question evolved into what are specific groups saying and how does that affect what's going to happen in the future?
Okay, thank you, David. What are the implications of your findings to the community?
I think that what I have found is what is currently driving / affecting the productivity and research on genetic engineering as religion and the scientific community are big factors in what the scientific community is able to do. And so I think that what I have found is currently what's happening, and because of the ways of the religious community of all religions, I believe that their stance is going to remain the same, which is going to result in not a whole lot of change.
Okay. All right, thank you.